Where are we?
This is Mark McNease in New York City, and you're listening to another edition of Live Mic with Mark. Hey everybody, we're back with Mark and Rick together again. It's been a couple of months, huh, Rick?
It has. Man, you're counting. I don't. It seems like yesterday, but yes, it's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while. Took a break there, and of course now it's this is a Live Mic with Mark podcast, but we're going to be doing this every Sunday, just like we used to. And you'll see it when I post it. It says Live Mic Sunday with Mark and Rick. So we're back. I'm excited because you and I have been friends forever, since we were like young gay men almost.
No, and old gay men. That's right.
We're old gay guys now, but we're you know, we love doing this, and we have really good chemistry, and a lot of people have said, oh, I love listening to you guys. So I said, why not? Had to get some other stuff out of the way, though, right? Like books and tours and all of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, you've been busy book signings, you're just, Amazon ratings, all that good stuff. And you and I are working on a podcast. We'll talk about that someday, too. That's been in part of it. But just to be clear, let everybody know you did not fire me. I was not fired from the other show.
No, I would never fire you. I retired the show. We did Age to Perfection for like 2 years, and then we did the side dish because I wanted to get away from the age thing necessarily. And then I had to finish my book. I've got a new book that's it's available for pre-order. It's Kill Switch, my 5th Kyle Callahan mystery. It's for pre-order now, and it comes out September 15th. And I just had a Kindle single hit, which is it felt like a big accomplishment, because Kindle singles, for people who don't know, it's a program that Kindle has, that Amazon has, and it's I don't want to say selective, but they are selective. I sent them 2 stories before that they turned down. But this one is out. It's called Stop the Car, about 3 teenagers on a back road in Indiana in 1977. It's 3 teens, drugs, and a spaceship. What could go wrong? And it's only 99 cents, and it's a fabulous, fabulous story, of course. Because
is that the gift you sent me? I haven't opened it yet, but you sent me a gift. Thank you for that. Was that what it was? Yeah.
It's only 5,000 words. It doesn't take long to read, and it's only 99 cents. So read it and rate it.
I will. I mean, I'm not a reader. That's why short version is better. But I do have all your books stacked here, along with some other friends' books. I'm very proud. And I wrote a book at one day too. So I've got a stack here of about 10 books that I'm looking at right now that are my pride and joy books, because it's pretty cool to know we have authors in our lives. So congratulations, Mark. Yeah, everybody, check Mark McNease out on Amazon. Yep.
Now you want to get to our topics?
Yeah. Here's how this works, Mark.
Oh, you got your ding ding. Okay, you can ding them. Here's my ding ding. Now, you said in the green room that your ding ding was bigger. I'm not sure, because I've never seen your ding ding, but I have heard it.
I brought my ding ding to New York with me once and showed it to you, and then you wanted my ding ding, and you went out and bought one.
I got my own. I've always had my own ding ding, and I got Frank's. Well, I got Frank's ding ding too, but
I might lose my ding ding someday, because one of the topics we're talking about is transgender today. So you never know when you're going to lose your ding ding, Mark.
Right. And I do want to say really quickly, because this is a chat show. You and I are a chat show, basically. And we have a bat problem here. We had a year ago, we've had a bat in the house, and it disappeared. Never saw it again. Then I found it dead in the laundry basket. I found a dead bat in the laundry basket.
Oh, gosh, I can't go there. Oof.
But we had a bat 2 nights ago. We came out on Friday. There was a bat, like in the living room when we're watching TV. And, of course, being mature, sort of level-headed gay men, we flipped and ran into the bedroom.
Yes.
And
the bonnet's over your head.
I caught it I found it the next day in the cupboard. I saw it trying to get out of the glass, so I was able to get it outside. I did not harm this bat, unlike Cecil, which we will talk about soon. But the bat, I released the bat, and then last night there was another one in the bedroom. So now, and I got rid of that, but we got to get a bat person out here.
You got to do it. My mom had, in northern Wisconsin, she had flying squirrel issues, kind of similar to a bat, and she eventually had to get it because they produce, reproduce, and they get crazy. So I would have loved to have an audio recording of that experience.
It turns us into different people. Because I think there's a psychological thing about bats because they fly. I think it goes back to when we were like cavemen and there were big pterodactyls and things that would eat us. Because when you
yeah,
see
they're
this,
nothing to be afraid of. Yeah,
no, they're just
right.
they're mice with wings, is what they are, and they're only dangerous if they have rabies. But they're scared of people, and but there's like you wake up and you see this dark thing flying around your head. It's like, oh my God. But anyways, we ready for topics?
Cecil. Let's start with Cecil.
Cecil the lion. Now, this is a caveat. I gotta, because you'll see when I post this, our first podcast back, I say that we say what we think, and sometimes we say what our listeners think too. So we are irreverent but respectful. And I totally was on the bandwagon of kill this dentist or whatever, put him behind bars, not kill him, but I was appalled that they lured this lion out of its refuge. I think that's what set me off more than anything. Of course, I don't want lions or into any of those animals killed, but to lure an animal that was on a sanctuary and then kill it, and the dentist, of course, is now hiding, and Zimbabwe wants him extradited and all of this stuff. But I did yesterday, I said on Facebook, I think because it was like an enormous worldwide outcry, and you had little kids crying at makeshift memorials, leaving little stuffed lions, and I thought, this is kind of strange. And I think it's partly because his name is Cecil. If this lion was named, some Swahili name or Muhammad or something like that, I don't think you would have quite the phenomenon that we have, I guess what I would say. And the other thing I was going to say too is that I was reading the next day after it first blew up, and they were talking about Zimbabwe itself as a country and saying the unemployment rate is 80%. And there are people there who they just barely subsist, literally. So for them, this was a very first world problem. And that just struck a chord with me. I think it's wrong that the lion was killed. I think poachers should be held accountable and all of this stuff. But it was one of those moments, like when we read about white privilege or cisgender privilege, I realize that, like millions of people flipping out about this lion, there's an element of privilege to that, like first world privilege, where this is a big deal that this cute Cecil lion was killed. But if you're living in Zimbabwe or Nigeria and shit, and your children are starving to death, that's a different, you know what I'm saying? It puts it in perspective.
No, it's an interesting twist, but there's so many angles to all of it. And then of course the whole news that Jericho, the brother, was shot and Jericho's still alive. And well, my thing about it is very interesting. Someone had made a comment, of course, on Facebook. Someone who I respect greatly, who was elected in the fight for marriage equality in Louisiana, and she just right beyond that. Oh my God, it sounds like Cecil roaring. What was that noise?
Airplanes.
Did you hear it?
I'm outside, by the way.
Planes. Oh, that's cool. I thought Cecil was, weighing in on this. But anyway, she was making a comment that, we are the only species, or the only mammal, if you will, or species really, that hunts for trophy, and that's been an issue of mine. I have no issue, Mark, you and I have talked about this before, with my brother hunting, my niece hunting. I hate to see the kill, but they eat the meat. And the reality in this situation is even a cat may present a mouse as a trophy, as I've experienced recently when I was raising these cats that I didn't really want to raise. Got to learn about that species, but they will eventually eat that animal. I mean, it's all play for them. And that was kind of the weird thing for me, is to think of that. And the other comment she made was interesting when they were talking about the Jericho thing, that the brother is now raising the babies. They said that when you kill an alpha male and the new breeding starts to happen with the beta male, like a less dominant male, the species has an ability to eventually fade out. Did you know that? Over time, we're talking about long periods of time, but the importance of killing an alpha animal is very vital because of that reason. I also want to comment too, we just had a story down here. I'm from Louisiana, so everybody, Mark's calling from New York, today from New Jersey, where his other house is, and I call in from Louisiana wherever I may be traveling, but today I'm in Louisiana, where I live. Mark, we have an issue with gator eggs right now. I don't know if you saw the national story. We broke it in the Shreveport Times, paper I work for here, and these two guys were caught with $10,000 worth of gator eggs. They had poached over 586 gator eggs.
Wow.
And you can sell them on the market for $90 a piece. But the reality is, commercial harvest has been, I'm assuming the 60s, alligators went onto a list of endangered species. And eventually now, the gator industry is big. Louisiana has more than 2,000 licensed alligator hunters, and the value of that industry is $57 million a year. But it took 50 years to build that industry back and maintain it. So poaching those eggs is almost as serious as killing a Zimbabwe lion. It's just interesting how we think we can affect nature, and we really shouldn't. Stay in your dentist's office and drug kids and fix their teeth. That's what I say.
No, we're actually in the middle of a mass extinction, and most people have no clue about that. But there's a mass extinction going on the planet. So
that's interesting. I want to talk about the Olympics. Big news this week: Beijing being named the 2022. That's weird to say, 2022 home to the Winter Olympics, but they don't have snow where the Olympics are going to be held. So it's the first time. What's big about this story, I think, Mark. And I want to hear what you say, too, because when the announcement came up, of course, Mark and I have this tendency, like most friends, to text each other and try to rile each other and have some fun. But when the announcement was made, big news, of course, because they're the first city to have been awarded both a summer and winter game. I got to dig a little deeper. At first I thought, well, that's just not fair. But then I realized, in the opinion, all these other countries had offered, I mean, as recently as was it last year, I think, even a couple of weeks ago, one of the other big countries dropped out. Sweden was looking to do it in Stockholm. Germany was looking at one point, and they all started to slowly back out because the 2 weeks of revenue really wouldn't offset the cost. And then a friend was saying, well, the reason China was really, it was really kind of the last dog was, what was the other country, Kazakhstan or whatever, some other country. They said that it was picked probably because they had the workforce to maintain the work involved, including making the snow that has to go on the mountain, as I referred to earlier. There really is no snow there. And also because, and I want to hear how you weigh in on this, Mark, my friend feels that it was picked because there's not going to be any threat, that a lot of countries were afraid of ISIS threats and things like that, and they know that if they hold the Olympics in China, there's probably no security threats.
Well, I didn't actually look into it that much. I know that they got the Olympics, and I know they had them, and it just felt like another. Well, I also read too that sort of along those lines that a lot of countries aren't pursuing the Olympics anymore because of the cost. You have this enormous cost, then you have stadiums that like sit there and rot, and it's just not worth it. And so you're going to have more countries like Russia and like China, these sort of dictatorial, communist, oppressive regimes hosting the Olympics. And then by then, I think it's time to stop going, to just it's really time to rethink the whole, this whole attitude we have about the Olympics and how amazing they are. I read one thing where he said they should just put it in a permanent country, like find a permanent country to do these Olympics. And
that's interesting.
And stop this.
Yeah.
But to me, I know I didn't. I had a huge problem with the Sochi Olympics because Russia is a fucked up country led by a horrible man, and I'm not fond of it being in China. I didn't watch the Sochi Olympics, and subsequently, all of their crackdown on gay people was so violent and awful that I hope everybody who watched them felt a twinge of guilt. I doubt it. But I'm not watching I'm past the Olympics. I've been over them for a long time, so.
That's interesting, and you are right about the buildings. So they did say that at least one good thing is, remember in the Beijing Summer Games, they built all those buildings which they can reuse. I just find it interesting, also that on the sad part, they do have to build a new Olympic Village, and it's going to be built right next to an existing nature reserve. So they break their own rules in so many ways, and actually it's also like California. Beijing is threatened with water issues all the time. They said the fact that they're going to go ahead and produce all the snow is going to be the water to produce it is going to be drawn from these reserves that will actually affect people's drinking water ability. I guess I don't look at that. I guess I don't care about the people in some ways. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they just want the national attention.
Maybe if they were all named Cecil.
Maybe.
Okay, I'm going to compress my last two because you know me. I'm always looking at the clock. We're at the 15-minute mark. So just briefly, the Boy Scouts are allowing gay adults, gay leaders, and also gay employees. But there is an important exception there, which they've said that the individual troops can determine whether or not they will allow gay leaders, which I think is a bad move. And then also the Mormon Church is thinking of breaking away and starting their own thing, and to me, I say good riddance. I read about this maybe a year ago. The Boy Scouts originally were a secular organization. They were about scouting. They were, you know what I mean? They weren't about what they ended up becoming about. And the Mormons infiltrated the Boy Scouts. This goes back maybe 50 years, 60 years or more, where the Mormons started hosting the troops, and they basically sort of got inside and took over the Boy Scouts. And it became this quasi-religious thing. And I'm like, good riddance, man. Get out. If you have to root this shit out, I mean, if you have to pull this stuff up by the root, then do it. Let the Mormons go their own way, because Boy Scouts didn't start out to be about this, you have to believe. Did you know you can't be an atheist and be a Boy Scout? That's bullshit. So good riddance.
Mm-hmm.
Goodbye.
Well, well, I want to weigh in on that. In the Wisconsin Synod of the Lutheran Church, you can't be a Boy Scout and a Christian. So it's the other view of it. But that's interesting. Is the Mormon faith itself? There's a lot of movement in the gay movement within the church saying you have to start, accepting gays and lesbians in our faith. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I find that interesting too. I don't know, Mark, did you see that? It reminds me of how you're right, how certain things come in and change things. In black churches, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I like to worship in a black church, and I go and I love the music and I love to get my God on. Higher usually in a black church, if you will, than let's say predominantly white church. But did you see that sermon delivered by that Georgia pastor, Dewey Smith, that went viral? Was on Facebook this week and also in YouTube?
It did go viral. I spend most of my weekdays I'm at work and I can't watch videos, but
Mm-hmm.
I read stuff. I sneak read stuff, and I saw that he was talking about how gay people are treated in the church, in the black church specifically. We got them in the choir, and that's fine as long as they're good for business. So yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. I love this quote though, because they tend to be, when in church like that, the way they speak is so amazing. The quote that was picked up by one of the papers was, "You can't evangelize and antagonize at the same time." And he basically just came on and said, we can't demonize and dehumanize artists and even members of their own choir who are gay while enjoying and benefiting from their work. I just love the way he talked. He also, part of his rhetoric was, "We have done what the slave masters did to us. Dehumanize versus degrade us, demonize us, but then use them for our advantage." He did come out subsequently because a lot of people got on it and were all supportive of him and said, well, yeah, he said, "I still support, straight marriage." But I was proud he did it. It was interesting to see. If you have a chance, folks, go on YouTube and look, because the response of people was really interesting. Usually, you get people on a roll, Mark, you know what I mean? And this time they were kind of looking
like
at
us, like you and I.
My last comment is I want to talk about this. Janae Marie Croft. Have you seen the story? Transgender world record bodybuilder.
I did see that, and I thought that was awesome, actually.
I think it's awesome. Croft wrote for the website Gym Flow 100 as a male. Also invented a type of lift. His name is Matt. He set the world record. A type of lisp? A type of lifting, a type of way to lift in a routine. And what do you think I said? Lisp?
Lisp. I thought you said, yeah, okay, go ahead.
It was a lift, but he set a world record in the 220-pound class with a 2,551-pound lift. He's got 3 kids, and what I find interesting about his story, I mean, he's a big guy. Now he's half man, half woman. He's still going through his change, and he's changed his name to Janae Marie Croft. He's got 3 kids, and he said they're supportive of wherever I want to go. But what I love about this story is I was questioning myself yesterday and saying, where do we go after transgender? We've had the gay fight, we've had the black fight, we've feminism, blah, blah, blah. I still think we have some work to do on feminism. But he calls himself gender fluid. He said, I don't want to be necessarily a man. I don't want to be a woman. I want to be who I am, and it's kind of both. And I find it interesting. The story will be interesting to see. But his quote, and I'll end with this, is, "My story isn't about being a man or a woman or being masculine or feminine. It's about being who you are and being comfortable and happy inside your own skin."
I like that very much, and I want to just put one little thing in here. I watch Big Brother. Every year, it's a guilty pleasure. And they had their first transgender contestant on there, Audrey. She's been since kicked off the house because she was kind of evil. But that show makes people evil. That's how you win the game. But anyways, so Audrey was being interviewed, and she said, "I don't like the word transgender." Because I think someone asked her, it was a clip from when she was in the house, and somebody said, "Are you transsexual?" And she said, "No." And they said transgender, and she said, "I don't like that word." She said, "I'm a woman. I'm not transgender. I transitioned. That's behind me, and I just thought it was fascinating because it's such a delicate area. You have to be really careful. But I've always thought if I were a trans woman, I think at some point I would just say I'm a woman. I wouldn't want to be identified for the rest of my life as trans because I don't know. Anyways, I liked what Audrey had to say. It was a really interesting perspective, and I know she's not alone in that. So I wanted to. I just want to close with something, just because we haven't talked since the marriage equality, since the Supreme Court ruling. We haven't done a podcast. We talk every day almost. But anyways, like a lot of people pointed out when that happened, now we can finally move on to some housing issues, senior issues, non-discrimination and employment issues. There are so many issues that were put way on the back burner for years while marriage equality became the equality movement's raison d'etre. And that does not have to be the case anymore. And I know a lot of people are relieved. It's like, okay, let's talk about the fact that you can get married on Sunday and fired on Monday. Let's talk about this stuff. So we do have a lot of work to do.
I agree. And I think that there was a reason for it. We've talked about it in our former podcast. We had to get this point of equality that we can begin to have those equal, same page conversations. And that inspires me. There's a whole other thing we'll take off record, but someone wanted to do a story at the paper recent, Mark. I'm just going to throw this up there as a follow-up to people who were married since the ruling. And I was like, why are you going to follow up? We don't follow up on straight marriages. I don't understand that, but you gave me insight to bring back to this friend of mine who's writing the story and say, hey, no, now you need to make your story about, hey, we won this victory. We're all equal. I'm a she, he's a he. We can get married to whoever. Now we need to deal with these real issues. So you've inspired me to get her to really put the focus where it needs to be. Thank you.
Perfect. Rick, it's been great being back on podcasting with you. Live Mic Sunday with Mark and Rick. Don't miss one.
Have a great week.
I'll be in Atlantic City. Well, actually, no, I'll be here next Sunday, and then we go to Atlantic City. So I'll talk to you next week on another podcast. Bye.
Bye.